just had a Freck Formula Regional qualifying session with a couple of red flags in it. So that's the reason for the delayed start for DTM. So getting underway around about 10 minutes later than scheduled. There's Maro Engel, who in the end finished in 6th place yesterday. Just to bring you up to speed, after the race, Bastien Boost was unfortunately disqualified. The car was found to be 3.5 kilograms underweight. There is a 2 kilogram tolerance. They weighed the car 3 times, and even with that tolerance of a couple of kilograms, it would have been a kilogram and a half underweight anyway. So unfortunately, for the second time this season already in 3 races, Bastien Boost has finished 4th on the road, but not got the result for it. There is Bastien. In the first race at the Red Bull Ring, he was given a post-race penalty for contact with Ben Durr, which ended up with Ben in the barriers and out of the race, so dropped him to 14th place and completely disqualified from the race yesterday from 4th place. So heartbreak for him and for the team, but it did promote a few drivers up the order, including Maro Engel, who was promoted up to 6th. Right, let's get back down to the pit lane and Verena.
And I'm here with Maro Engel, who is 2nd in the championship at the moment, 4 points behind Luigi Auer. And yesterday you ended up 6th in the race. So for today, what's your goal?
Try to do better. That would be the first goal. Obviously, it's a tight grid, and I think we can be satisfied with the race we did. The qualifying wasn't perfect, so hopefully this morning we can improve on that.
And speaking of this morning, the qualifying, obviously that's the big start. Catch all the points that you can, valuable points. Even though I think we're starting in like 8 minutes something, we still have a few minutes. How tough do you think will the qualifying be?
It's always super tight, and it's a great challenge at DTM. The qualifying is always tight, and you need to be on your game.
And in regards to the weather, I mean, it's going to be pretty hot today, and we know that the grip here, the track is always an issue for the tires and everything. How are you expecting that? Same as yesterday, probably?
Yeah, I think we saw yesterday that, or over the whole weekend, that this new DTM tire is definitely a challenge, and it's doing what it's supposed to do. So it's got a strong peak, but then it's got more degradation. So the race was challenging, and I expect the same today.
All right, and I can see your wife. She's here right behind us, smiling. So you've got your lucky charm with you. So hopefully qualifying is going to go really well.
Yeah, absolutely. Great that she's here.
All right. Thank you so much, Maro. Best of luck for the qualifying. And yeah, back to you.
Brilliant. Thank you very much, Verena. Great to hear from Maro Engel for Mercedes-AMG Team Ravenel. You saw in the background there his co-driver, his teammate at Winwood, who run that car and run the car of Jules Gounon. Jules Gounon arriving in the background in the Mercedes-AMG Team Mann-Filter car. And, of course, Jules finishing in 4th place yesterday as a result of Bastien Boost's disqualification. So points-wise, Lucas Auer, who you heard from at the top of the show, 3 podiums out of 3, a couple of seconds and a third, and he now leads the championship with 58 points. Maro Engel, 54 points, dropping to 2nd place in the championship. He's only 4 points behind. But remember, yesterday, because he'd won the 2nd race at the Red Bull Ring, he was carrying the 20 kilograms of success ballast. There's Arjun mining. Now, I know for a fact that will be heavy rock music, because that's Arjun's thing. Good man. He likes a bit of guitar music, so he's looking pretty chilled. Arjun yesterday getting into the points. It's been a bit of a struggle for the Mustangs here this weekend. However, there's been a balance of performance change overnight. Just a couple of tweaks, one for BMW and one for the Fords. So the Fords did have 2 39mm air restrictors on the car. Now they've got 2 37mm restrictors on the car. So they've hopefully got a bit more available to them in terms of airflow and power to get them a little bit more competitive. We've got also BMWs with 20 kilograms less balance of performance weight on than they had yesterday, and they've had a boost increase throughout the rev range. So the BMWs struggled yesterday, could be more competitive today as we go back down to Verena.
Yes, and I'm now here with Marco Wittmann, who's just putting on his helmet and is getting ready to get into the car. So just a quick question. Everyone's already getting ready, even though we still have a few minutes. But what are you expecting for the qualifying? I mean, they're still repairing something, but you guys are all on alert, and you think we're going to be starting soon with the qualifying?
Well, on the schedule it says 9:50, so there is a delay, but it says 9:50 we should start. So basically getting ready and hope for a good qualifying.
Hope for a good qualifying. How tough will it be?
Well, it's always tough in DTM, it's always challenging. The competition is strong and the field is tight. So obviously you need to nail it, especially here with the high tire energy. You basically have only 1 or 2 flying laps where you really can use the peak performance of the tire. So yeah, you have to nail it.
All right, well, you do that, you nail it. Thank you so much, Marco, and back to you.
Thanks very much, Verena. Good to hear from Marco Wittmann. Yeah, the BMW struggled yesterday. Kelvin van der Linde in particular had an oil leak in qualifying, which meant he didn't do a lap in qualifying. Had to start at the back of the grid, and then gained a few places in the first part of the race. Stayed out longer than anybody else before the mandatory pit stop. So he actually got the lead at one point, but it wasn't a real lead, if you like. But then the car looked like it was really struggling after the pit stop, and he unfortunately had to retire. So Kelvin, absolutely devastated with the starts of the season he's had, but he said, it's not in my nature to give up, so I'm going to come back fighting today. We'll see how he does. Ben Durr finished 6th on track, which was already his best result so far in DTM. He got then promoted to 5th place after Bastian Buus and that disqualification. So on a real high is Ben, runner-up in the Rookie Championship last year. He's had that retirement at race 1 at Red Bull Ring, which was very gutting for him, given that he started the race on the front row of the grid. But a 7th and a 5th since then, so he's up into the top 10 in the championship. And there was more bad luck yesterday for his teammate Timo Glock, who retired from the race, had some damage and a puncture in the first lap, and then retired from the race with a problem. All the problems seem to always happen to Timo's car, so very unlucky for him after what was a much more competitive outing at the Red Bull Ring. The top 2 in the championship I've given you: 58 points for Luigi Auer, 54 for Maro Engel. Thomas Preining, 38 points. Mixed season so far, a win, a 13th and a 7th. But he's on 38 points. And also on 38 points, yesterday's race winner, Matteo Cairoli, who is now the 3rd different race winner that we've had this season. There's Marco Mappelli. Now, we saw a pretty lively incident coming out of the pits yesterday with Marco Mappelli, Mirko Bortolotti and Arjun Maini all coming out of the pits together. That was being investigated. It was looked at, and in the end, after the race, a few hours after the race, it was announced that Marco Mappelli would receive a 5-second penalty for parallel driving in the pit lane, and Mirko Bortolotti got a 5-second penalty for failing to yield to Mappelli when he entered the fast lane. So that was the other results from last night. As we go back to Verena.
And I'm here with Kelvin van der Linde. Marco's already sitting in the car since minutes with the helm on and everything. And
I'm a great ambassador for DTM, right? I always do interviews.
Yeah, and that's why we love you so much. And you're always so chill. Today as well?
Yeah, I think good feelings. Hope the car goes well today. We don't have any problems. That's obviously the most important. And then I'm sure we can do something.
Absolutely, I'm sure. And also here, being an old school track, old school track, how much do you enjoy it here as well? I know Petra's always on, but how much do you enjoy it?
I went to the beach yesterday. I had to get away a little bit from the frustration here in the box, so I spent some time on the beach and had an ice cream. So maybe that's a good motivation for today.
I'm sure it is. Thank you so much. Best of luck for the qualifying. Back to you.
Yeah, good to see him in good spirits. He's had a few knocks, hasn't he, so far this season. So, yeah, went to the beach to clear his head. That's a great idea. That's a beautiful beach here at Zandvoort. It goes as far as the eye can see in either direction. And, I managed to get out at sunset last night. It was a really nice atmosphere down there. When I went on Thursday night, there were thousands and thousands of empty razor clam shells on the beach. I don't know what all that was about, but yesterday that was completely gone. So, I don't know why that was, but it was lots of sharp edges around on Thursday night. But last night was much more, you didn't have to dodge the shells. Last night was much more relaxed. So Kelvin van der Linde hoping that finally he can get his season up and underway. Incidentally, just to say, if you get a chance to look at Gilles Gounon's social media and Team Manfilter's social media, there's a really funny bit that he did on the beach before the start of the weekend in his race suit with his race helmet, doing a pretend pit stop in a deck chair on the beach, which was fantastic. So do recommend you check that out. Right, we are 3.5 minutes away from getting the second qualifying session of the weekend underway. A slight delay because of the delayed session prior to the DTM qualifying. It's going to be 20 minutes when it gets underway. It will set the grid for race 2, round 4 of the championship. You've heard from Verena Vriek down in the pit lane. I'm Chris Hartley, and let's introduce now the other voice you're going to hear from for the rest of the day, which is Brian Oliver.
Good morning, Chris. Good morning, everybody. We are getting ready for the 4th race of the season. The local man, Thierry Vermeulen, brings a massive fan club with him. Didn't get the result he was quite hoping for yesterday. A podium finish is good by any standard at all, but it was the sister car with Matteo Cairoli at the wheel, and he has finished at the top of every single session we've had and the DTM at Zandvoort in his DTM career. He was the quickest in both free practice sessions. He was the quickest in quali. Can anybody beat him today? I think Bastian Boos might have a score to settle. He'll be distinctly grumpy about that disqualification yesterday, but he was looking so good in the race, wasn't he?
Yes, a good battle, a really good battle with Jules Goudon. They saw it, as I thought they might, from different perspectives when they were asked about it after the race yesterday, because there were a couple of times when Jules got around the outside of him and was squeezed and had to take to the curbs, to the grass, in avoidance. And Jules was asked about it. Did he think it was unfair? And he said, was it unfair? No, it was against the regulations. You're supposed to give somebody room if they're alongside you. He wasn't very pleased with Bastian at all. Then they asked Bastian the same question. He said, no, I thought it was a good race. Enjoyed it. Totally different perspective. But of course, in the end, he got that disqualification for the car being underweight, which would have been just an error on the part of the team. Certainly nothing malicious about it, but really frustrating for them. 3.5 kilograms underweight, and the second fourth place loss for Bastian. Because I'm sad, I did some alternate championship workings out last night. If Bastian had been able to keep his, I know it's all ifs and buts, but if Bastian had been able to keep his fourth place finish at the Red Bull Ring and his fourth place finish yesterday, he'd be sixth in the championship. It's cost him 24 points already.
Yeah, absolutely. The ifs and buts of motorsport, isn't it? And if only, but it does show you that he is indeed here to fight for championships. He's not here just to make up the numbers, doesn't it? So, yeah, absolutely. And motorsport, it's a cruel mistress sometimes, isn't it? And sometimes you win and sometimes you lose and sometimes you have these issues. Land Motorsport will come back all the more stronger from it. And of course, everybody's still just finding their feet in this season. Everybody just working their way forwards, and it's all part of the learning curve, isn't it?
Absolutely right. Thomas Preining, one of our three former champions on the grid, or three champions on the grid. And he, as I say, great start to the season with that win on Saturday at the Red Bull Ring. But since then, he has been able to pick up points, but he hasn't really been right up at the sharp end where he would like to be. Let's see how he gets on today here. But again, it's about maximising your bad days where the car isn't quite as on it, where it's a circuit maybe that doesn't suit you quite as much. Walking to the circuit this morning, it felt a bit less breezy as I walked along the close to the promenade. But looking at the flags, I think it's picked up again, hasn't it, here? And as you said, sand blown onto the circuit can be an issue, particularly in the mornings when we haven't had much running from other championships and other sessions in qualifying. The session now gets underway. But yeah, as Maro Engel was saying, this new DTM tyre made by Pirelli specifically for the DTM this year, it's softer, which gives benefits in terms of it can be quicker. It can heat up quicker, so it's a bit more manageable on an outlap on cold tyres once you've made your pit stop. But a softer tyre never lasts as long, does it? So it degrades, and this circuit, Brian, is really, really tough on tyres.
It is. We've always seen Zandvoort as a bit of a tyre eater along with the Saxon Ring. So, yeah, it really is a test, and in this heat as well. And, of course, in qualifying this morning, it's a lot cooler than it may well be later on today. The weather forecast has been saying that the days are progressively getting hotter and hotter, and it's going to be a real challenge for drivers and teams to manage tyres. Good bit is, in the race today, of course, we have the 2 pit stops. So the tyres, in theory, have to do a little less hard work. They get the opportunity for that second set of tyres.
Yeah, and 4 sets of tyres you get for Saturday and Sunday at this event. So that's the 2 qualifying sessions and the 2 races. Giving you the championship points. In terms of the other standings after yesterday, Winwood Racing lead the team's championship by 8 points. They've got 77 points. Landgraf have got 69. So Mercedes dominating in terms of points scored at the moment in drivers and teams championship. Emil Frey Racing, though, their first and third place finishes yesterday, moving up to third place in the team's championship on 60 points. The manufacturer championship, won by Mercedes last year, being led by Mercedes this year. They've got 110 points, but Ferrari moved up to second yesterday with 66 points now, and Porsche are third on 62. The rookie championship, with the second rookie class win yesterday, Finn Wiebelhaus leads that. He's got 98 points. Nicola Bart has got 64. They scored points for qualifying as well as for the race. And then the pit stop challenge, Thierry Vermeulen got the fastest pit stop yesterday. So that's the third race running now that Emil Frey have had the fastest pit stop of the race. It was a 6.110 second pit stop, and therefore Emil Frey with 3 out of 3 wins in the pit stop challenge now, with the fastest 3 pit stops per team get points, 3, 2 and 1 points, and they've got 9 out of 9 points so far. Manthey have got 4 points, and then Landgraf and Schubert are on 2 points apiece. There's a reminder of the current situation in terms of the Drivers' Championship. There are a couple of big names missing off that top 10 board, aren't there? And one of them specifically, I would imagine, that thinks he should be up there, and most people would have thought would have been up there, but hasn't had much luck this year, has been Kelvin van der Linde.
Yeah, you stole the words from my mouth. And of course, it was in qualifying yesterday. It was a very topsy-turvy qualifying session because everybody came out, did the first lap, the installation lap, if you will, came in for the heat-soaked sequence, and then we had that issue with Kelvin van der Linde dropping oil on the track, and then quite a lengthy red flag period, and then it was all just kind of a little bit different where everybody came out. There was no real heat-soaked sequence, and then there was, and then finally we got some times on the board. But Kelvin van der Linde, he was going to have his fastest lap taken away anyway as a result of causing that red flag. He eventually, the team got the car together. He made it off the back of the grid for the race, but clearly the issues were still there, and he will certainly be looking for something a bit better today. You heard Verena talking to him a little bit earlier, and he said just had to take some time out, go and just sit on the beach and regather yourself. And I think of Kelvin van der Linde, he had a year out from DTM. He comes back this year, hyped up. Everybody's saying, yeah, he's going to be a fighter for the championship, and he's there ready to go, and he's had nothing but bad luck. And I think regathering yourself mentally is quite a challenge, when you, particularly when you have a day like yesterday, where literally everything is going wrong, nothing is going your way.
That is where, though, the bad things that have happened to him before kind of help. Because he's been in bad situations, he's been in tough situations before, none tougher than just missing out on the championship in the last race of the 2024 season to Mirko Bortolotti. So he's had to grow and develop and deal with that. And everybody that competes in motorsport knows that there are way more downs than there are ups. And when you eventually get the ups, they're brilliant. But, so many things that can go wrong. I was speaking to Jules Gounon about this yesterday, actually. So his girlfriend is a triathlete. And she doesn't really know too much about motorsport since the start of going out. Obviously, he's educating her about motorsport. But he said, look, if you don't win a triathlon, it's because you just weren't good enough, or the other people were a bit better than you on the day. It's never really because of bad luck. But in motorsport, it can often be because of bad luck that you don't win. Something breaks on the car, somebody crashes into you, safety car comes out when you were leading the race. Yeah, whatever it is, it's very frustrating for these drivers, isn't it? They have to be very resilient to deal with all of this all of the time.
Yeah, absolutely. And we know that Kelvin van der Linde has not forgotten how to drive a car, that's for sure. It is bad luck, it is mechanical issues. Who was it who said that in motorsport you will always lose more races than you will win? There's only ever one winner, and there are 21 starters, which means there are 20 drivers who will be disappointed at the end of every race. But Kelvin are just struggling to just have any luck at all. We're looking there at Luigi Lukasauer in the shoebox, and as you can see, that confirmation, 4 points clear at the top. He's a driver who's had his fair share of bad luck, and he will probably consider Hockenheim last year as the time when he possibly could and should have won a championship, but for a bit of bad luck and a lot of other things going on. But he's in a really solid position once again. And one of the things we mentioned coming into this season is those drivers that are in the same teams with the same setups that are consistent from year to year are the ones that are going to be strongest. And you look at the 1, 2, 3 in the championship there at the moment, and they're all the ones that have been in that car. They were in there last year. They're consistent. They know the team. They know the car. And it's that consistency that wins championships, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely right. You talk about resilience. I mean, you're absolutely spot on about Luigi Auer having huge resilience. So, two things. He obviously got very close to winning the Nürburgring 24-hour race last weekend, as did Jules Gounon, and with their teammates Max Verstappen, 3 hours away from winning it, all looking comfortable. Drive shaft goes. That's a killer. But that's not even kind of the worst thing that's happened to Luigi Auer. So last year, and that's 3 hours from the end of the race, he was 3 corners away from being the DTM champion last year until Arjen Guwen repassed Marco Wittmann coming into the stadium section at Hockenheim on the last lap of the season. That's how close he was to winning the championship. And then, of course, you talk about Luigi's mental toughness. He had that huge accident in America a few years ago, which put him in hospital, a huge operation, and then somehow came back to start the season just a a few weeks later almost in the DTM. Incredible that he did that. And the guy does it with a smile on his face all the time, doesn't he? So positive.
Always positive. It was at Norris Ring the year that he had that big accident, and we were in the paddock. He said, "Do you want to see my scar?" I'm like, "Okay." I was expecting some little scar on his back or whatever. He lifted his shirt up, and there was a scar that went from the bottom of his neck down to his waist. It was the most horrific thing I have ever seen.
Remind me never to look. I'm quite squeamish.
All right, and you still want to get behind the wheel of a race car?
No, incredible.
Well, I mean, his uncle, of course, Gerhard Berger, has probably taught him a few things. He's had a fair few moments in his racing career, but it is resilience, isn't it? It's the strength.
Yeah.
And as you say, the thing about Lugi is you never see him in a strop. You never see him walking around, getting angry and throwing things around. He's always got a smile on his face, and surely he deserves it now.
Well, he's leading the championship. He couldn't care less if he's won a race or not. He's winning the championship. That's all that matters. And he's banging the podiums in. 30th career podium yesterday. 3rd on the bounce at the start of this season. So absolutely no hangover from last season. Just saw Nicky Tim there in the Come To You Racing Aston Martin. 2 top 10 finishes in the last 2 races now. Promoted up to 9th place yesterday. Tail end of the points with those 5-second penalties for Marco Mappelli and Mirko Bortolotti for their side-by-side incident coming out of the pit lane. With the 5 seconds added on, Marco was 13th in the end, Tom Callender 14th, Max Powell 15th. Arjun Maini was also kind of at the back of that little incident that was going on, but didn't receive a penalty. And then Mirko Bortolotti dropping down to 17th place as a result of that. But positives for the Temerario, and particularly for Red Bull Abt, with starting in 7th place and in the end finishing in 7th place. Luca Engstler, really good result and their first top 10 finish with that car. So much more positivity about the new car, and a really positive couple of weekends for Luca as well, with that great pole position that we already talked about at the Nürburgring, and a 2nd place, a podium at the Nürburgring, 24 hours, and now starting to get up and running with the new car.
Yeah, we didn't think it was going to take them long to get behind it, and certainly we've said this before with the likes of Abt and Grass that are involved in the development. You've also got the likes of Marco Mappelli, who is a really good development driver as well. So it was only a matter of time before that was going to be competitive. They've still got a long way to go on it, but it's really encouraging to see them knocking on the door of some really good results. Well, we'll look at this. We're over the halfway point of the session. They're leaving it even later than normal today, aren't they? We have this. I'm still vouching for a 10-minute qualifying session. That would sort this nonsense out, wouldn't it?
I suppose it's because they know they can only really get 2 good laps out of the tyres around here. Some tracks you could probably get 3, but not around here. So you can leave it, I guess, a little bit later before you pull the pin and go out. It was interesting speaking to Thierry Vermeulen after qualifying yesterday, because he said actually it seemed to work for them. He said, I don't know why. He said, but we had this sort of red flag which stopped us. We'd done our sort of recce lap, we'd done the heat soak, or started to do the heat soak sequence. Then there was about a 30-minute break, wasn't there? And they went back out once the track had been cleared, the oil had been cleared, and then they did the same again. They went out, did a heat soak lap, came back in for about another 5 or 6 minutes. He said actually doing the dual heat soak seemed to work for us in the Ferraris. We don't know why. At least I'm sure they looked into it since then. This was straight after qualifying. He said, but it worked for us, and they were the top 2 on the grid yesterday, weren't they? Finished 1st and 3rd in the race.
With that in mind, I'm surprised they haven't come out and done a second heat soak sequence. It's, as I said earlier on, it was a very topsy-turvy session, and it was really hard to read what they were doing, and it all got quite busy at the end. And this is what's going to happen here with 8.5 minutes remaining, of course. It's always the problem, especially here at Zandvoort. When you leave it late in the session, as 21 drivers are doing, that's all very well, but you've got to find space on a track that is about 4.2 kilometres around, which is not massive. You've also, dependent on the cars in front, not chucking it in the gravel, or putting gravel or fluid on the track in front of you, or not making a mistake yourself. So it is always a bit of a white knuckle ride in the closing stages when you're leaving it that late and you haven't got a banker on the board. So nobody is playing chicken here. Well, everybody's playing chicken. Nobody's playing safe here. Now everybody's starting to move. I think the track is going to have 21 cars on it in a few moments, and that's encouraging. See Kelvin van der Linde back behind the wheel of that car, clearly Schubert Motorsport have been working hard on that, and hopefully they've got on top of those issues as well.
Yeah, I think we're going to see Kelvin all guns blazing today, I reckon. Let's see what he can do to turn this season around. But you're dead right. At this circuit, with that gravel just off the edge of the circuit, not much runoff, there is more chance of people coming off the road, isn't there? And bringing out yellow flags and bringing out potentially red flags. So it is a big gamble. Out they all go. As I mentioned yesterday, since the GT3 era of DTM, we've been here for 3 seasons now, 2023, 2024, 2025. And of course this season as well, we've had 7 different pole sitters out of 7. Marco Mappelli's got to be careful in the pit lane. After yesterday with his running with Mirko Bortolotti, almost had a running with Luigi Auer there. Oh blimey! So yes, it might be. Might be looked at again, that, but he's still on the brakes, in fairness. He saw it coming, but yeah, and again, it's not necessarily just the team, is it? Just the driver. The team tell the driver when to go. Have a pretty limited view in the cockpit, but yeah, almost a second scare in the pit lane there for Marco Mappelli after the race yesterday. Yeah, 7 different qualification phases we've had since 2023 here at Zandvoort in DTM. 7 different pole sitters. Yesterday, it was Matteo Cairoli. Last year, it was Jordan Pepper and René Rast. Jack Aitken in 2024, Max Powell got a pole here in 2024, 2023, Maro Engel and Ricardo Feller, who was the driver that set the fastest lap of the race yesterday in the Porsche. And so far, we've had 7 races at Zandvoort in the GT3 era of DTM, and 7 different drivers have won those races. So I wouldn't be surprised if it all changes again today, would you, after yesterday?
I think Matteo Cairoli would like to sort that one out. Right,
break that trend, yeah.
In notification, I'd say release, not Marco Mappelli, but actually Luca Engstler, who has been reported for an unsafe release from the pit. So whether that was something different or not.
Sorry, yeah, I think it was.
So was it?
Luca, yeah, sorry,
okay.
yeah, my mistake. I think it was. It was Luca Engstler, wasn't it? Yeah.
Okay, so
take it back, Marco.
Yeah,
Marco.
Breathe a sigh of relief there. So yes, the stewards take pit lane safety very seriously indeed, and I think yesterday when we saw them a 3-way fight to get out of the pits and the bollard going south, I think there was always going to be a penalty somewhere incoming for that. Right, well, look at this, 5 minutes and 10 seconds on the clock, not a single time on the board. That's about to change, I do believe.
Yesterday's pole time, Matteo Cairoli, 1:32.974 as a reference point. Pretty similar conditions. Yes, Luca Engstler has been reported for unsafe release. So both drivers from Red Bull out having dramas in the pit lane. Marco yesterday, Luca today in qualifying. One of our onboard camera operators, very kindly doubling up for us this weekend, is Lucas Auer. And yeah, he was very happy with his second place finish yesterday. And bearing in mind, he was another driver, of course, that was carrying some success ballast on the car because he'd finished 3rd at the Red Bull Ring. He's going to have a bit more on the car today because he finished 2nd. He's going to have 10 kilograms of success ballast on the car. That's only for the race, not for qualifying. And yesterday's winner, Matteo Cairoli, will have 20 kilograms of ballast on board, which is what Maro Engel has been able to shed today for the race. And then 3rd place yesterday, Thierry Vermeulen, 5 kilograms of success ballast on the car for the Ferrari for the race later on today. We didn't see why, but Tom Callender was another late retirement yesterday, so hopefully he gets a finish today because he was pretty impressive with his 4th place finish at the Red Bull Ring. There he is in the Landgraf run, white and red Mercedes, the youngest driver on the grid.
So the first time, Thomas Preining, clearly not there yet, but a 1:36.626. But Thomas Preining, after yesterday's race, 7th place finish for him, so he'll be looking for a bit better than that. It's been a kind of a rags to riches type of year so far with that win at the season opener at the Red Bull Ring, but then the 13th place in race 2 has always been Mr. Consistency, Thomas Preining, so they'll want to get that rolling again and get into the top half of the field.
1:36.3, still not up to pace. It's going to be on this next lap of the one after where we get the proper times coming in. Have to be, because there's only 3 minutes and so to go in the session. But Preining's quickest at the moment with a 1:36.3. We should be We might not get into the high 132s, but we ought to be getting into the 133s at least. Mirko Bortolotti does that. That's a good lap. 133.205 for Mirko Bortolotti then in the Temerario. So the 2024 champion sets the benchmark time. Kelvin van der Linde set the absolute best first set to Nicky Tim, does a 133 as well, but that's around about half a second just more than slower than Bortolotti's time. Max Powell is third for now. Nicola Bart is fourth for now, but it is going to change every time somebody comes across the line, Brian, and this is the next driver to watch.
It could be, as was the case yesterday, last person across the line before the clock strikes zero who gets the fastest lap. Certainly Kelvin van der Linde with those two purple sectors. Definitely one to watch. He's into Sector 3 at the moment. We're looking at Lucas Hauer, personal best in Sector 1 and Sector 2. Looking reasonable, but still more to come from him. Out across the line, they will come in just a few minutes. Just looking out to see where Kelvin van der Linde comes. Here he is, out of Lyndike now.
Vermeulen on a good lap as well. He's going to get here first, isn't he?
So van der Linde goes quickest, a 132.831. That's a stonking lap from Kelvin, and Thierry Vermeulen is going to try and beat that. So across the line he comes. P2 though, 133.008.
Yeah, so Kelvin going quicker than yesterday's pole position time. Vermeulen goes second. Third is Luca Engstler. Fourth is Mirko Bortolotti. Matteo Cairoli crosses the line with his first proper effort to go into fifth place, a 133.248. Thomas Preining sixth with a 133.373 at the moment, but more to come. Unnecessarily slowing in Sector 3 is the reason that Thomas Preining is being looked at, so that'll be checked out afterwards. And through a cloud of dust comes Matteo Cairoli exiting turn 3. Luca Engstler's done a personal best through the first sector. Bearing in mind he's already third, this could be good for him. It was a 31.096. That was only 44 thousandths of a second slower than the absolute best first sector time. So Engstler on a good one. Bortolotti is one and done. He's got into the pit lane. That was the reason for the dust that we saw. It was Thierry Vermeulen kicking it up on the exit to turn 3 as the Dutchman presses on.
Also reported under investigation Ricardo Feller for impeding another car as well. So both the Manthey cars being investigated by the stewards. We're looking there at Luca Engstler in the 130 Temerario. We know the Temerario's got a bit of pace in it. At the moment, it's Kelvin van der Linde's 132.831 that they're trying to beat. Thierry Vermeulen up to second place, a 133.008 out across the line. Comes Luca Engstler to stop the clock, and he is up to third. So the Lamborghini is starting to look really quick here in Zandvoort.
Yeah, that lap started well, but the tyres went away, so he did improve on that lap, but he stays third. Bastian Buus, though, is on a personal best lap here. Luki Auer has gone into the pits. He's going to be 8th at best on the grid, the championship leader. What about Bastian Buus, though? Ricardo Feller only goes 15th as he crosses the line. He'll get another lap in, though, and Bastian Buus is only 15th with that lap, but he gets through just before the checkered flag comes out, which it does now. Maro Engel was 18th. He's improved, but only up to 11th. So the top two in the championship at the moment. Luki Auer is 8th. Maro Engel is only in 11th place currently. In yesterday's pole sitter, Matteo Cairoli is back in 6th place behind his teammate Thierry Vermeulen. But Kelvin van der Linde's really early lap of a 132.831, the fastest lap of the entire weekend, looks like it has done the job and will get in pole position. There's a couple of Ferrari drivers that will try, though, to get up the order a bit.
Yeah, Thierry Vermeulen has improved, as has Matteo Cairoli, but they're not setting purple sectors, so they're not getting as close to Kelvin van der Linde's time as they would like. Bastian Buus also setting personal bests in Sector 1 as well. So there's a bit of celebration going on in the Schubert pit, but not too quickly. There could still be more surprises to come. Thierry Vermeulen, middle sector, nothing too spectacular. Same for Matteo Cairoli. So maybe it is looking like Kelvin van der Linde's pole position is safe. Bastian Buus as well, not improving in Sector 2. So I think we've probably seen the best of everybody so far. Thierry Vermeulen's not going to improve on P2. Peels off into the pits, aborts the lap. In the background, that's Thomas Preining also peeling off into the pits as well. It's looking like Kelvin van der Linde from Thierry Vermeulen. But look at row 2, 2 Lamborghini Temerarios.
Luca Engstler, great effort in third. Mirko Bortolotti, so the one push lap really, 4th place for him. So huge improvements this weekend in only its second weekend of the championship. But it's a second Sunday pole of the season for that man, Kelvin van der Linde. His 11th career pole position in the DTM. That trip to the beach to clear his head last night after the disappointments that he suffered so far this season with 2 DNFs, 2 mechanical problems, well, it did the trick. And the resilience that we talked about, it's there in spades. He's been competing here in Europe for 10 years now, racing driver for 20 years. And, you know, he's built up that resilience and he's come back fighting, as we always expect Kelvin to do. He's a proper fighter. And the South African will start round 4 of the championship from pole position. Thierry Vermeulen will be second on the grid for the second day running. Can he get his first career victory in the DTM? And Luca Engel, who was really impressive to qualify 7th yesterday, finished 7th in the race, even better today in 3rd place. And Mirko Bortolotti, back somewhere near the sharp end where we always would expect him to be, a driver of that calibre, 4th place. So Luca Engel in the Red Bull Apts Lamborghini Temerario and Mirko Bortolotti in the TGI by GRT Temerario, 3rd and 4th on the grid. Ben Durr barely had a chance to mention Ben, but he continues to impress. The youngster in 5th place on the grid after finishing 5th in the race yesterday. And yesterday's pole sitter, Matteo Cairoli, in 6th place today. Couldn't quite manage to have the magic that he had in yesterday's qualifying session. And, of course, he's going to have that 20 kilograms of success ballast on board for the race. Thomas Preining, 7th. Championship leader Lucas Auer in 8th. Nicky Tim in 9th. Jorgun on 10th. Maro Engel, worst qualifying so far this season, will start the race back in 11th. Let's get some reaction with Verena.
And here's the man who was 2nd yesterday, and today you're starting again in P2. So how excited are you about that, seeing you here again?
Very good, yeah. It's great to again have a great qualifying. Again, thanks to the mechanics and engineers, because they made some fine-tuning on the car. And again, a step to the right direction, and it's really nice to have this flow. I think the lap was not perfect, but we did it on the first lap after there was some dirt on the track, and I touched the grass also a bit, so it was really pushing, but just happy to be here. You know, the car is really going the right direction, and I'm so happy with that.
Excellent. All right, Thierry, congratulations. See you later. Thank you. Back to you.
Thanks very much, Verena. Yeah, great job by Thierry Vermeulen. And yeah, he's improving year by year by year, Thierry. And both Brian and I fully believe that he's going to get his first DTM race win this season. It's going to be tough to do it today, though, because Kelvin van der Linde will be desperate to get the victory. Let's get more from Verena.
And look, here's our pole setter. Congratulations. Maybe it was the ice cream you had yesterday at the beach. You did such a fantastic job. Love to see that smile in your face.
Thank you so much. Honestly, it was a tough day yesterday, so I really had to dig deep this morning to pull out everything. It was a good lap. I knew lap 1 here is the lap to go for in Zandvoort. And as soon as I crossed the line, I knew I wasn't going to improve on lap 2. So I came straight in, saved the tires for the race. I think we're going to need that later on in the hot conditions. So trying to just extract everything we can, and also looking ahead to the race. Yeah, big job to do.
You already had a pole position at the Red Bull Ring. Now you have your second pole in today. And I mean, how tough will it be to make a win out of that one?
Well, we saw in Spielberg that a lot can happen in the race. Pole doesn't always mean everything in DTM, so I just want to stay calm now. We look at the strategy and try and see how we can be better for the race.
Maybe have a little ice cream later on.
It'd be great. It'd be great. It's very hot today. Thank you.
Right. Thank you. Back to you.
Thanks, Verena. Yeah, I might have one myself, actually, later on. Well done, Kelvin. Mega lap that. Bearing in mind his teammate in the other BMW, Marco Wittmann, he's back in 13th place, 9/10 of a second behind him. So he gets the Pirelli Pole Position Award. First driver this season to get 2 pole positions. And, of course, he gets 3 useful championship points, but it's the 25 points he's after for the race win later on today when the race gets underway at 1:30 local time. Nothing less than a race win is what Kelvin van der Linde is after, and you would be pretty brave to bet against him. He's going to be all guns blazing. Interesting to hear him say, Brian, as well, thinking the long game, saving the tyres. Certainly a few drivers did that, didn't they? Mirko Bortolotti ended in 1 push lap as well.
Yeah, particularly critical around here. The other thing with Kelvin van der Linde is, I think that's a little sit on the beach and an ice cream is going to be pretty critical here as well. He needs to just keep himself calm, keep himself collected. He's done it so many times in the past. He needs to do it again today.
Super effort from Kelvin. We'll see him on pole position later on this afternoon. From Brian Oliver and me, Chris Hartley, in the box. That's it for now. Thanks for your company. And back down to Verena Vries.
And we've got Luca Engel here. You'll be starting in P3. Great job in the qualifying you did there, and you look very happy about that.
Yeah, obviously been a long winter. Obviously a lot of work for the boys back in Italy, and now to be here on P3 is just cool.
And the race is going to be a tough one probably, as for everybody, but you're looking forward to it. Is Zandvoort also something, is it a racetrack you love?
Well, it's for sure a track that we love, but obviously, as everybody knows, we knew in the program here, so there's a lot to learn. I do think we struggle a bit on tyre deck and long run pace, but in the end, look, it's a P3 that I think is the first step and the first history made with this car, which is great, and then let's see what comes out in the race.
All right, fingers crossed, looking forward to the race later on, and I hope you guys are as well. So what an exciting qualifying, and now we're looking forward to race 2. See you later, here are the highlights, enjoy.
van Zandvoort aan de zee met wat zwanen die hier overvliegen. Die camera bovenop de hoogwerker bij de Tarzanbond geeft zulke mooie beelden. Dit is echt prachtig. Vroeger zou ik wel zeggen, dat is KLM-reclame. Ja, dat is iconisch natuurlijk, de KLM-reclame vroeger met de zwanen. Dat hebben ze laatst gezien inderdaad. Maar dat is, ik denk als ze die weer terughalen, dan die wordt gewaardeerd. Ik vind het al 35 jaar geleden. Zou zomaar kunnen natuurlijk. Het was even een mooie shot en nu zitten we dan weer met de camera's op de startrit. Dan de Porsche krijgt hier naartoe. Benelux. Prachtige klasse die je rijdt met iets andere auto's dan waar de Porsche sinds carrière Cup Deutschland mee rijdt. Dat zijn de allernieuwste versies. Deze zijn nog wat ouder tussen haakjes. Dat scheelt wel weer, want bij de Porsche sinds carrière Cup Benelux split
maar ja, dat is altijd zo. Er was een Spaan.
Der Moment, bei dem der deutsche Carrera Cup den Atem anhält. Gestern 11:57 Uhr. Ein Unfall mit 3 beteiligten Fahrzeugen. Schreckmoment. Rote Flagge.
Ich habe innen überholt und da war kein Grip. Dann bin ich ins Kiesbett raus, musste versuchen, das Auto irgendwie noch zu halten, dass ich mich nicht drehe. Bin dann wieder zurück auf die Strecke, aber ich habe halt in meinen Spiegeln niemanden gesehen und dann auf einmal habe ich nur gespürt, wie ich Richtung Leitplanke gedrückt werde.
Dann gab es den Kontakt mit Michael, der hat mich dann in Max reingeschoben und dann sind wir beide ziemlich heftig in die Leitplanke rein. Auto ist, glaube ich, auch abgehoben.
Sören und ich waren neben der Tarzanbucht und der
ist einmal ratlos.
Ich habe nur gesehen, dass es ordentlich gerumst hat nach Turn 1. Ich hoffe nur, dass es allen gut geht, weil es hat schon heftig ausgesehen, aber ehrlich gesagt weiß ich auch nicht, wie es weitergeht. Ich denke, es dauert länger.
Keine Ahnung, wie lange jetzt unterbrochen wird. Hängt sicher auch davon ab, wie schnell die Leitplanke repariert bekommen. Mal schauen. Ich würde lieber wieder los.